Good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Light Gate with Preston, Dennett, and Dolly Safran. Minus Dolly Safran, I am Michelle DeRocha, your guest co-host for this evening's show, as Dolly is unable to make it tonight. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. So, Preston, how are you?
I'm doing well, very well. I hope you are too.
Oh, I'm doing splendid because I just love being here. Sorry, love you, Dolly, but I'm having fun.
Yes, thank you, Michelle, so much for filling in. That is awesome. And I want
Pleasure.
to welcome you all to get this episode 43 of The Light Gate. We're moving right along. I am, of course, your host, Preston Dennett, author, researcher, and a little bit of an experiencer. And my lovely co-host tonight is Michelle DeRocha. She's actually the host of her own show, The Outer Realm, which airs live each Wednesday and Thursday evening at 9 p.m. So that's Eastern. So check that out. It's an awesome show. I've had the wonderful honor and privilege to be on it a few times.
Oh, you're a frequent flyer.
I am, and I couldn't be happier about it because it's always so much fun with you, Michelle.
Thank you.
And this is going to be exciting because we've never co-hosted together. This is going to be awesome.
No, I know. I have to try to remember I'm in the back seat tonight.
Hey, you can drive anytime you want.
All right.
All right. So let me see. We do have a wonderful guest tonight, and I'll be reading her bio and bring her on in just a second. But as you guys know, I love to say hello to all of you in chat because I just adore you. It's because of you we are able to do this show. So thank you so much. And here you guys are. We have Brian Morgan. Thank you for joining us. And Doxy. Michael always brings the popcorn. Thank you, Michael. And Schizo Music TV, Raphael, a former guest on our show, very popular, twice actually. Awesome to see you here. And Hector Gonzalez, all the way from Queens, New York. I spent 2 weeks in New York once. I loved it.
New York is fun.
Oh, it's so fun. I stayed at the apartment of a soap star, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
You want to go down that road?
I've got some stories, I'll tell you. That's another show. All right, who else do we have here? Ruth Kleiber, hello. And Woodland Goblin. Always nice to have a goblin in chat. What else do we have here? Lots of people, you guys. It's awesome. Oh, Dana, you are so kind. A super sticker of $9.99. I truly appreciate that. It certainly helps to fund the show, which does cost us a little bit here and there, but it's certainly worth it. And boy, with donations like that, I can't complain. So huge thank you to you, Dana. Sandra, hello. How are you doing? So awesome to see you here. Fun Talks TV. Oh, Susan. Susan's, of course, another prior guest and was in my book. Shameless plug. Humanoids.
Shameless plug. You can plug on your own show, I'm pretty sure, right? Preston.
I think I get to do that.
You do.
Any guilt. Let me see. I may have already said hello to you, Fun Talks TV, but what the heck? Why not again? And who else do we got on here? Louise. Greetings from New Jersey, the Garden State. Hello. Awesome to see you. Oh my gosh. Namaste. You and your endless generosity. I am humbled. I'm honored. And you have my endless gratitude forever. So just email me and I'll do what I can. Thank you so much. And you too, Star Orchid. Wow. You guys, I love you so much. You really just warm my heart.
I feel like a group hug coming on. It's getting very emotional from my end. Let me tell you what.
It's just so awesome. I mean, I just love our people. And we have just a friendly little group here.
Yes.
Jim Morrissey, hello, and Sunny Bornett.
And don't you find that the chat room makes it that much more exciting?
It does. I love it.
Yes, very
Just
interactive.
we're all here together, bringing people from all over the world.
Yes.
It's just the most awesome thing. And sorry, Dolly can't be here, but
Awesome.
Michelle has some really cool stories too, and she's an experiencer, so she knows some things, to say the least. Some
Oh, I do.
things.
I'm a happy experiencer.
All right, Hina Thompson, hello, all the way from down under. Awesome, Australia. I'm gonna go there one day. I tell you, one
My
day.
daughter was sent her to live there for a few months. I was
Really?
surprised she came back. Yeah. I want to go live in Australia. All right.
I mean, you can just go for the koala bears and kangaroos.
Pretty
That
much. And the
alone.
cockatoos, apparently. So
All right, one day in December. Awesome. And Angie, hello. All the lovely people in chat. Catherine Farfeathers, I see you here again. Thank you so much. Better get started pretty soon. Our guest is waiting.
I know.
Let me see. Oh, observe. Oh, I get it. Observe. Took me a second. Hello, observe. Wayne Mellows. Hey, hello, Wayne.
Made it.
Thanks for joining us. And Cheryl, Arizona, and Kathleen White. Oh, you adore me? Of course we do. Why would you not? You're adorable.
Wayne.
And I think I can pronounce this Siobhan Nolan. My name is Rose, and I'm here for the first time. Oh, welcome. That is awesome. I hope you find our little group here nice and friendly, because we do try. Linda Catlett and Dragonfly. Sunny says, say hi to Dolly for us. We certainly will. Okay, we really better get started. I am going to get in trouble.
We can have a show just with welcoming the chat. That many. I know, but I
just can't resist.
Big wave.
Okay.
Hugs.
Let's get our guest in, because she has been so patient.
She's been just a champ, I'll tell you what.
All right. Yes, our guest tonight, and it's such an honor, is Denise Stoner. You may have heard of her. She's quite well known in this field. She's an author, a researcher, and a UFO experiencer. So we are very lucky to have her. Her involvement in this field spans decades. She has quite a resume, and I will go through it as quickly as I can. She's taught classes in stress reduction for more than 12 years for professionals in the fields of medicine and law. She's got an educational background in business and psychology, and is a certified hypnotist specializing in regressive hypnosis, which is so awesome in this field. She began her research in hypnosis under Dr. Bob Romack from Denver, and has also worked as a paranormal investigator in the homes of abductees that felt they had been visited by spirits following abductions. There's definitely a connection there. We'll have to talk about that. Denise has also done background investigations for the military and recruits seeking highly classified clearances for work on nuclear submarines. I wonder about the connection there, because ETs are all about warning about nuclear stuff. Let's see, what else do we have here? Prior to retirement, Denise moved to the Navel Air Warfare Center Training Systems Division military research facility, where she was the training coordinator for several hundred military and civilian employees. Wow, Denise, that is very impressive. She is the director for the Florida Research Group affiliation of the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania, UFORCOP, a Mutual UFO Network National Abduction Research Team member, and a Florida MUFON Field Investigator Star Team member, and the former Florida MUFON State Section Director and Chief Investigator. She holds educational forums for public and private gatherings for abduction experiencers, and no surprise, has appeared on TV and many radio shows. She speaks yearly at the Daytona Museum of Arts and Sciences and the Paranormal Investigative Association, plus many other venues. We just found out she's a member of OPUS as well, which I've already forgot what that stands for, but she can
But it's with Les Velez. Big plug right there. And Les is just awesome. So
All right. Now just a couple
Yeah,
of more lines
there
here
you
and we'll
go.
bring her on. She's worked as an on-camera expert for documentaries produced in the United Kingdom. She has had extraordinary and extensive interactions with UFOs and ETs for her entire life. And she is also the co-author with Kathleen Marden, of course, Betty Hill's niece and a huge figure in this field, co-author of 2 books, The Alien Abduction Files and Making Contact, Alien Abduction Case Studies, which I believe is also available for children. Okay, well, let's just bring Denise on and get
There we
this
go.
show
Preston.
started.
Now you will not forget Opus.
Thanks so much for joining us, Denise.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a true honor. I've been following you for quite some time. Not a lot of people have survived too long in this field. You know, they come in and then they go. But here you are.
Here I am.
That's
Here
awesome.
I am. And I have to give some thanks to Kathleen Marden for that, because writing that book with her was quite an experience, and we've become very good friends over a period of 12 years.
Yeah, she's just an awesome, awesome lady. I did a panel with her on another show some months back. And it was just a delight. She's very knowledgeable. And
oh boy, is she.
And to have that connection to, of course, the iconic Betty Hill. I mean, wow. Because that changed everything in this field.
Yeah.
It really
absolutely.
Did. Okay, well, I hope you're doing well and ready for a 2-hour marathon, or, well, 1 hour and 40 minutes now.
I am ready. Enjoyed listening to you.
Yeah, we can't help but have a little bit of fun.
Sure.
That's why we're here on Earth, right? If we're not having fun, what are we doing?
Exactly.
All right. Well, like I told Michelle, and like I'm sure all the people in chat know, I love to start the show with just in the beginning. How did this all roll out for you as a little kid? Did you believe in UFOs? Did you have experiences? What was your first experience? I mean, how did it all start for you?
Well, I was a little kid, and people asked me, how did you remember? And the trigger for that memory was my mom was in the hospital having my sister. So I was going to have a new sibling, and I was with my grandparents who lived with us, but had never taken care of me by themselves. My mom never left me alone. So this was the first time.
Wow.
So while my grandfather, I was 2.5, and while my grandfather was doing our dinner dishes, I climbed up on a little sofa, which a window was in back of it, and it overlooked an empty field. Nothing but telephone wires. So I was just watching, and my mom read to me, I think, before I was born. So I had a lot of nursery rhyme characters in my life. My wallpaper was full of nursery rhyme characters in my bedroom. So all of a sudden, a huge egg-shaped something came over the telephone wires. It was right outside the window. So my first thought as a little child, I thought it was Humpty Dumpty. And I kept thinking, turn around. It was egg-shaped, perfect, only gold. And I couldn't find the mouth and the nose. And I kept thinking, is he going to fall into the field? But I didn't see any feet or arms like some of the drawings had. So my grandfather came through. I had a dish towel folded over his right arm. I can remember that. And I said, Grandpa, what's Humpty Dumpty doing out there? And he looked, and I can remember the look of fear on his face. He was scared, and he said, well, okay, let's go upstairs and read our story. He was from Scotland, so he had quite a strong accent.
So he saw it too?
The brogue, yes.
He saw the, wow.
Yes. So he took me by my hand, helped me down, and we went upstairs, and he read my favorite story, which was Jack and the Beanstalk. I like the idea of climbing above the clouds and so forth. So, um,
Little did you know.
little did I know, he went back downstairs and left me to fall asleep. And I was looking at my wallpaper. I was looking for Humpty Dumpty, and he wasn't there.
Hmm.
So while I was looking, a little figure stepped out from the wallpaper. He was hooded and he had bell-shaped sleeves. He was very short, probably about my height, because he could look right in my eyes when he walked up to my bed. And in one hand, he held what was either a tool or an instrument of some kind, very, very narrow, with a little tiny light on the end. So he walked up to me and looked at me, and when I looked back at him, I saw the great big almond-shaped dark eyes. I wasn't afraid because I was used to all kinds of stories, and the Scottish people, my grandparents, being Scottish, always told stories of what they saw. They did not have experiences like that, but the little people in Scotland,
Yes.
they believed in them. So he
I
asked
believe
if
in
I'd
them
like.
too.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh my goodness, yes. So he asked if I'd like to go for a little walk with him, and I said yes. So I took his hand. I reached up inside the sleeve and took his hand. We walked out into the hall, and he touched the wallpaper in the hallway with that odd looking light. And when he did, we walked right through the wallpaper
Wow.
and just kept walking. And I looked, and everything was kind of a brushed silver that I think of it nowadays, a real brushed silver, not shiny. There was a bench that ran from the doorway or entryway all the way around. And I could look at the far end, and I saw other kids down there. And I
Wow.
saw another entity holding some sort of little board. It looked like they were reading from it to the kids. And the entity that had me in there said, "You probably will get to go down and play with them one of these minutes." And I was just so astounded at what I was seeing that
Hmm.
I didn't have any comments or answers or say, "Take me home." None of that. I was probably only there about 10 minutes, and he turned us around, brought me back, walked me back through the wallpaper the way we came, and put me back in bed.
Oh, you didn't
That
get to
was
play with the other kids?
no.
Oh, darn it.
Yeah. Oh, darn, this time, yeah.
Almost
Well,
like it was
that-
a precursor, right? Like easing maybe you into feeling comfortable for future visits. I mean, Preston, and your
be.
experiences with interviewing people with that.
Yeah. Well, it does start early, and kudos to you, Denise, for remembering
Yeah.
that far back. Wow.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
I've noticed that though with contactees, they often have an eidetic or photographic memory, or just remembering stuff when mainstream science says, "Oh, you can't remember till age 4." It's not true.
Not true. Not at all. No.
Wow. So is that like your first memory?
First
Period.
memory. Yes. Yeah. The very first memory. And that continued along those lines for probably until they started taking my sister. I saw her being floated. They put her crib right next to mine.
Right.
We only had 3 bedrooms, and my grandparents had one. So my dad was having a home built for us, their first new home. And I started to see my sister floating over the top of her crib and out the door into the hallway, and she wouldn't come back for a while.
Now, does she remember this as well?
She did, but would not talk about it at
Oh.
all.
Well,
At
Wow.
all.
blame her for
Would
that.
not. Said she wanted nothing to do with it.
Oh.
And so my dad started to think that she was escaping, that she was one of those child Houdinis. Because occasionally she would drag a blanket or a sheet with her. And as she passed the hallway downstairs, she'd throw that over, and it would land at the foot of the stairs. So my dad actually built the crib up thinking she would not be able to escape. And she did. Of course, they were taking her. She wasn't leaving herself. So,
Must have
so
been quite a
that,
mystery for your parents.
yeah, they just really didn't figure it out at all until I told them. Oh, I told my mom years
That was going
later.
to be my next question.
Yeah, yeah. We were all on the second floor of this home. So my dad and mom were at the end, overlooking um, our yard. And my dad was a Army, what was it called? Army Air Corps bomber
Hmm.
in World War II. So he looked out the window. They were lying in bed talking, and he saw two lights coming across the yard. And he would be in the mode to save us all because it was too low. And he said to my mom, if that thing comes any closer, it's going to hit the house.
Heard that
The
sort.
next,
Yeah.
the next thing he remembered, it was morning.
No, when was this and where?
This was in Hartford, Connecticut. We were still in the first home, and we were all up on the second floor where our bedrooms were.
All right. And
So
you were still a little kid too?
I was a little
2 years old
kid.
at that point?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So that's the only time I heard my dad speak of anything, and he really wouldn't say a whole lot because later on,
You
after he
didn't,
finished,
yeah, you didn't
yeah,
talk about things like that back then, did you?
no. And after he finished school, his big dream was to become involved in aerospace, which he did.
Wow.
And
Very
I
cool.
think he worked in the tunnels in Nevada because he spoke about that a little bit. He couldn't say too much, especially if I asked him what he did. And he would say, well, I take things. And we
Whatever
go
that
to
means.
Nevada, whatever that means, and then I bring them back and look at them. And he said, now don't ask me anymore.
No.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So while all this is going on with your early experiences, were you interpreting it in any way? I mean, what were you thinking? Wow, these are aliens, or these are
No,
ETs.
no, I had no idea.
Right.
We weren't taught to look at people, whether they be disabled, born differently, look differently, came from another area of Earth. We were not taught to question who they were, which was good. We were just
Mhm.
raised to appreciate people.
Right.
So I didn't think about it.
They're just people who look a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
So that experience at age 2 was the first, and it continued, you said?
It continued. And then we moved into our new home in a little town called Wethersfield in Connecticut. A little historic town that's still just as quiet and nice as it was when I grew up there until high school. And I would be taken from my bedroom and a couple of times left in the park where one end was my grammar school and then a big open park where the high school played football. So I came to in the park one night, and no one locked their doors, closed their windows, locked their car door. Everything was wide open, so I could just walk home, open the front door, go upstairs, and go to bed.
Yeah.
See,
I
that's
remember those
crazy to
days.
me. Can I ask how old you were when at that time? Like,
Yes, I was moving on from, let's see, would be first grade when we moved to the new home.
so 7, maybe
Yeah,
6.
7-ish. Yes.
Wow. So is that normal just to be, to be dropped off, like not where they took you from? The 2.5, I mean, okay, but 6 is still pretty young to just be dropped off in a field. I'd have
Yeah.
been mortified as a
How
parent.
far away from your house is that? Is that like
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say about 2 city blocks.
What?
Very quiet. Yeah, it
was
wasn't.
that normal? Or would they always do that, or would
No,
Okay.
only I think
Wow.
that they, and I hate to say this, it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I felt like they got lost and
Huh.
recognized that school and the
Right.
yard and had possibly flown over that before. So I knew where I was. It was kind of cold out at night, and my little
Sounds like they
pajama
sent you a
bottoms
rookie.
were, yeah.
Oh
So
God.
Maybe
I
that's
just,
the explanation. That is kind of. I do hear
Yeah,
this.
they gave you a rookie who just dropped you and figured,
I
okay,
remember
she'll find
Dolly
her way back.
Saffron. She said they dropped her off. Oh, I think it was a mile from her house, dressed in someone else's nightie, not
uh-huh.
hers.
No.
Okay, so I have to ask, okay, what is up with that? I mean, did you come out in somebody else's clothes? They drop you off, not where they take you. And
Right.
people
Sometimes.
wonder why maybe people might be a little bit unnerved with the fact that if I knew my children were being taken, dropped off a mile away, I'd be sitting there on the veranda with a shotgun. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the way my mom was. She
Okay,
was
see, it's a
way
mother thing. Okay, good.
overprotective. It is a mother thing. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Well, this does
Um,
happen. Susan Alloway. I was dropped off 360 miles away.
What?
Yes.
We have a problem with this stuff, guys.
That was
oh
a
my
little bit
goodness.
different. She was traveling at the time, Susan.
Wow.
But
Uh-huh.
I hear that, that's not that unusual.
Yeah.
Often it'll be just outside the house, and the poor kid is like, "Let me in, let me in."
Yeah. No, I just walked in because I knew nothing was locked.
So, do
Again,
you
as
remember being on board at these other times?
just a little bit. I remember mostly coming home, and there was this kind of a grayish looking person. He was quite tall and he was very, very thin. And I was just a little girl, so I had to think of something to describe him. I called him the oil can man. Do you
Oh,
guys remember the old oil cans that if you pushed your thumb on the
Yes.
top and a long spout, it would drop and make a kind of a clocking noise, like
Mhm.
clock, clock?
Yeah.
This is the
I do
type
remember
of thing this entity had on the end of his hand, only it stretched. And when I started to run away from him, he would reach out and drip something on my shoulders. It took away fear and the
Hmm.
desire to run.
Wow, that's unusual. I
Yeah,
don't know if I've ever heard that before.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
talk about it, it's so clear. Um,
Wow. Wow. It almost seems primitive in a way, which you would not expect from more advanced race, or a race we perceive to be more advanced, you know?
I don't know because he, like I said, he could stretch that arm quite a
Right.
ways, and he could move very, very quickly. And he was, I would have to say, 7 to 8 feet tall.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
saw him.
Okay,
I
that's
saw him
tall.
about 3 or
Yeah.
4 times in Connecticut, and it
Right.
wasn't until he disappeared then, and it wasn't until we moved to California and I was in high school and I was chased down the hill by the same type of entity and
Gosh.
had to run into my girlfriend's house. The cops were called
Hmm.
because
Wow.
I thought he was going to take me, and he ran through the gate into the backyard of my girlfriend, and we told her dad. There were 6 kids there, and so they never minded if we just walked in and out. And if you walked in, you got fed. Her mom was
Right.
one of those. So I said, "There's something in the backyard that chased me, and I don't know what it is, but I've seen it before." So his dad said, "Well, oh no, we're going to call the cops before you go home. I live 2 houses down." And so he called the cops and he said, "Now all of you go and sit in the family room, separate from a living room, on a sofa." We did. We were looking through sliding glass doors, and we could see the light of the policemen going all through the backyard.
Mm.
Our yards were pretty long, long and narrow, and we were
Right.
looking. And then all of a sudden, the policeman's light disappeared off to the side, and this entity showed up at the sliding glass door with both hands up on the top of it, like he was just That's where his head level was.
Holy smokes.
Wow.
Looking in at us, and we kept saying, he's right here, he's right here. And pretty soon that policeman came running around and in the front door, and he said, well, I don't have a partner with me tonight. I'm not going back there again. Goodbye. You could see his car
Wow.
racing down the street.
Oh my gosh. Now,
Yep.
how old are you? Still 6 years old at this point?
No.
Or we're
This was
fast
high
forwarding?
school.
Oh, high school. Okay.
And
Wow. So
we
that's a
had,
big jump. Wow.
yep,
Okay.
Okay,
we
now
had
wait.
moved. Go ahead.
Let's back up a second. So this entity is at the sliding glass door in the back, right?
Yep.
And how many people are seeing this guy?
Oh my goodness. There was my girlfriend and 3 of her younger brothers and sisters,
My gosh.
including
And apparently the
myself.
policeman who's like,
That's a mess. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm good. Thanks. So,
Yeah.
right.
really?
Wow.
He's a policeman
Yeah.
with a gun and he doesn't want to do his
Nope.
job.
No.
Well, I guess I can't blame him. That's got to be
Fear is fear, I guess. But
Yeah.
wow. Wow.
He was
it's one thing if
afraid.
you're after a perp, but suddenly you see something you've never seen before.
You don't know what it is. Yeah. So
And so
Wow.
this was the same tall guy that you described earlier?
same, identical as what had chased me when I was a little
And
girl.
could you describe again what he looks like?
Yeah, he had a much smaller face than the Greys, but the same shape and the great big eyes. The skin color was more of a kind of a fleshy, looked like you could mold it in a way, but it remained, in that triangular shape with the narrow chin and long, skinny. He looked like he needed food or something because, yeah,
Somebody feed this poor thing. Yeah.
yep, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So,
It goes to show you there's so many different types of races. You would hear different people describe different types of ET, but you seldom ever see them. Paul Hillier,
No.
who's deceased now, right in Canada, he used to say that he thought there was like over 160 different,
yeah,
our defense minister in
fascinating man.
Canada.
Yep,
So it
a
makes you
wonderful
wonder.
man, and one to speak up and say, no, they exist.
Yeah. So what did your friends and what did you guys talk? That's a big incident. That
It
must have-
is. Her dad has passed away. I am still friends with her, and she comes to Florida to visit me, and we've had some conversations about
Wow.
this.
So they still
Yeah.
remember it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, at least you got confirmation. It's nice to have someone
I
else
do.
there to
Yeah.
enjoy, quote, this with you.
Yeah.
I think
her
it's
two-
important right now because there's just so
Oh,
many
yeah.
people who there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of people think they see
Yes.
things that maybe they're not seeing, or when you have validation, even from one other person, it's very substantial.
You need it. You need someone to say, yeah, we saw it too, or yes, I remember. I don't know what it was, but I saw it.
Well, maybe
fact that
that's
there's
what
still-
the purpose of that was,
Yeah.
because to give you some sort of that's an unusual experience. I've heard similar, but not quite so. Gosh, brazen, I guess would be the best word for it. Just very obvious, and because they do
Yeah.
that, they will want to show themselves at times.
They do. And
Yeah.
finally, after about a half an hour after the policeman left, her dad said, I'm going to look out the window, walk you to the door then, and watch you go to your home until you're inside. So that's
Very
what
nice
he
of him.
did.
Yeah.
I just kind of raced across the yard between us and in my front door.
So that was a scary experience for you.
I thought, oh no, here's that entity back again that I saw when I was a little child. And what does he want from me now? And it hadn't gotten dark yet. And he was chasing me down a hill. Our home was at the bottom of a hill, and he was behind me chasing. I don't know what the purpose was.
That's terrifying.
So were you starting to put the dots together at this point? Like, this is not a human. What could this be?
Oh yeah, something told me this was not human, but
Right.
I didn't know where it came from. I wasn't sure at all what to do. Was I going to see it again? And if so, when? You know?
Right.
Never know.
So, yeah, I was real leery about going out alone or without another friend with me.
Wow. And
I guess
you've
so.
had just that, you had the Humpty Dumpty UFO sighting, and then the one
Yeah.
with your family. Any other sightings up to this point of craft?
Not up to that point. It wasn't until I started to wonder why I was trying to cover up certain noises and I wasn't sleeping at night. Um, remember the old, there were hair dryers and you put this hood on and there was a hose. And so I knew that would cover up a noise that I heard. So I wouldn't go to sleep till about 2 in the morning, but I'd put that on and turn it on and it would distract me from what might have been coming, and I just didn't remember.
We block the
Um,
sound.
yeah, so
Yeah.
until, oh my goodness, I was older. My husband went to Vietnam, um, and then we were stationed at Fort Benning, and I was being taken, but I didn't have a lot of memory because it was something that happened often. And then when I met Kathleen Marden, she had moved to Florida. I invited her. She showed up at one of my meetings, and I thought, I think I know who she is.
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if I should, introduce her or not. So I invited her to dinner, and she came, and I said, "Can I talk to you about some things in my life?" And I told her, and I tell you, that woman investigates. She drove all the areas that we had been taken in Colorado and also here in Florida. My husband was taken with me. She did some hypnosis work on both of us to see if there was anything that we could not remember. Um, my husband stops. As soon as he sees the entities, he stops. He knows he was on some sort of cold table, um, but he didn't want to know anymore, and she was fine with that. But we've done a
Sure.
lot of work um, exploring what happened to me and where I was, and she's got photographs of bruises and marks and the same type of thing that happened to Betty Hill. I had a fluid and some bleeding in my navel. She's got photographs of that.
Mm.
Um, and then I was just taken
This is the book about
yeah,
some of yours, right?
yeah, the first third of that book is my story.
All right.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So before we get too far ahead, so this is happening to you as a kid and a teenager, and
Yeah.
you're starting to put the dots together. What moved you
Yeah.
forward to, starting a group and investigating and finding out more? How did
Well,
that evolve?
I was made a part of an experiment done by MUFON years ago
Wow.
where they chose 13 of us. I don't know who they are. I can't tell you. We were not introduced to each other. They believed that we were experiencers, and we had these boxes put in our homes at head level for when we were sleeping at night. If we were taken, they'd catch it.
So you reported your case to MUFON? Is that how they found out about you?
Yeah, we were given journals. I had reported, yes.
Oh, okay.
And so they installed these boxes. Anybody walking in would think they were just boxes with, some kind of decorative item. So they knew where all of our electrical outlets were. And even at Christmas time, we had to tell them where our tree was, where the lights were, all that. So I had a call after I had journaled a case and was taken one night from the home I'm in now. And they said, "You moved your answering machine." And I said, "No, I didn't." "Well, you had to have because it's not in the same spot." And I said, "Well, I didn't. I'm standing right by it on that phone." And they said, "Well, did you have an experience?" I said, "Yes, it's in my journal." So they knew something. They had hooked
Wow.
that box up to a telephone. They were taking downloads once a day, as far as I know.
So that box is basically a camera, an observation.
A lot of things. I think, yeah, more than a camera, microphones. It took sound. It did everything. So all of those boxes are locked away somewhere. They have never done the study.
What?
Yeah, nobody knows what the answers were, what they
That's odd.
obtained.
That's very odd.
Have you tried to pursue that at all?
Oh yeah, yes,
Because that would be so interesting.
I know. Fascinating to see what was there.
I know other people have tried putting up cameras. I mean, I remember reading about a case where a guy's like, okay, I know I'm being taken. I'm going to set up a camera. And he'd get up to go to the bathroom. That's when they take him. Or the power would go out. And that's when they get him.
That's when they get them, is right. And they seem to know that their picture's being taken, or it's going to be. So we've devised something that helps. It's also good for paranormal, and that's to wrap the camera in a Faraday cage.
Oh.
Wrap it in copper wire, leaving the lens open. I always suggest that to people. And we're beginning to have a little bit of luck capturing, first of all, the paranormal. Now we'll see what happens with the other.
That's a good little tip.
Yeah.
I have phenomenal equipment that can do conversations and such. So, but as far as capturing video, yeah, it's really difficult.
Well, it's about time we get a good picture, because you know how many people complain to me like, oh, if this is true, we should have pictures by now. I'm like, well, it's just not quite like as easy as you think it is.
They're a little camera shy.
Yeah, they're a little, just like Sasquatch and some of the other things. Yeah. Ghosts, spirits, those types of things just don't capture that many, but you know they're there. And you just have to trust in yourself. And to me and many others, it doesn't matter if people believe us or not. We know.
I think at some point
I've gotten great captures. Yeah, I've gotten great captures over the years.
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate for that. But but yeah, we live in a digital age. It's a lot harder.
We do. It's much more difficult. There are so many things conflicting with what we're trying to do. Our technology is moving ahead. However, so is theirs.
That's right.
Well, it's wonderful to be able to bring equipment and science into studying this.
Yeah.
But nowadays with CGI and Photoshop, pictures don't hold the weight they used to.
Yeah.
They just don't.
No, they don't. And you can't be taken aboard a ship, aboard a craft, and just say, well, excuse me while I snap a few pictures.
A selfie? Yeah. I don't think they'd be too agreeable.
Say, well, why don't you just pick up a little object and bring it along with you?
Yeah, right. Very good luck.
What's so interesting is Betty Hill almost got that book.
Almost got it.
Walking out the door, and they're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Could have changed everything.
Oh, yeah, it would have. And, you take a look at these entities and what they do with you and to you. I think that they need to do what they're doing. I saw I called him the doctor. He was a mantis, but he was so super intelligent. He did not have the personality that we have.
A lot of human doctors are like that.
Isn't that funny?
No bedside manner. Sorry.
They have no clue.
Right.
And so he was just doing what he was supposed to do, getting it over with. The ET that I saw as a child, I saw him over and over again. He was my guardian, my escort. Took away fear, took away pain. And I know that if I saw him again, which I did on one occasion, I haven't seen him for a few years, but I did during a near-death experience.
Really? And, Denise, we have to get into that a little bit. That's amazing.
Yeah. He's very kind. I'm attached to him. And I see that he has aged.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can we talk about your near-death experience and how you met them
Sure.
or what
Yeah.
you saw? Because I don't know that I've ever, well, no, can't say that. I have heard of people having a near-death experience and seeing ETs, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, I have not researched a lot of that. I just know that I've had mine.
Right.
Don't question it. No, it happened. And I think that's why I'm still here. I was given 20% chance to live.
Oh, wow.
And that was in 1969.
Wow, look at you beating the odds.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Can you describe your near-death experience and what you saw?
Yeah. I had a double stroke and I had blood clots going from pelvic area up to my brain. They don't know why they didn't hit my heart or my lungs. I think I know why. So I was let's see. I was about to be put in ICU till they decided whether or not to do surgery. Back then, they did terrible things to see if you had brain tumors because they thought I was too young to have had a stroke, but I had two. And while they were trying to figure this out, and I'll just say it, I vomited, and it was a substance that is in my medical records, and Kathy has those that says they could not figure out what this violent purple liquid was. And they found it on the top of my hospital gown. A nurse came in that was dressed in probably 1940s. I remember it's 1969. 1940s old nurses uniform with the
Wow.
spiky hat. Remember the old
Right.
nurses thing with the spiky? That's what and little kind of Brillo pad fuzzy hair. And she looked at me and she had great big eyes. She came up to me and she said, "Everything's going to be all right." She took my
Neat.
sheets.
Wow.
She floated me above the bed, took my sheets, and left. She said, "I'll take these to the lab." Well, not any lab that anybody ever found, nor did they find her. So my doctor came in and said, "We're going to ICU and then into surgery, exploratory." So he took me and he said, "Where are your sheets?" And I just kept saying, "The nurse took them. She has them." Well, thank you for saying, glad I'm okay.
Right.
I see that little flash.
Big
Thank you.
concern of the sheets, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So do you think they were healing you then?
Either that or they were going to. And I was in so much pain from the blood clots because I was getting gangrenous intestines and all that. So on the way to the operating room, I decided that was the end of that. I did not want to stay any longer. Now, I had a 5-month-old baby, but the pain was so intense that I was done. But the minute I thought that, I found myself up against the ceiling in the corner. And I saw that tunnel that they talk about. I had what I thought were feet and hands leaning on the wall up in the corner. And I watched my body being wheeled into the operating room. And it was like, oh, good riddance. Goodbye. Because the pain was gone. So all of a sudden, I realized I was in a place and space that was it was lit up, but it wasn't, with these tiny little sparkly things that I felt were all souls, or that I was told they were all souls. And I said, "Where am I? I don't see me." I was looking for my hands and feet, and they said, "You can break free, you can separate, just do it." So next thing you know, I could see an outline of a body that I knew was me, but nothing, I couldn't see fingers and toes, but just an outline. And I thought, well, this is kind of lonely. I want to be back with the group. And I went right back. You could see 360 degrees. Didn't have to turn around to look behind you.
I've had that with an OBE myself, so I know what that's like.
It's very, very amazing. And then I saw my ET way off in the distance, looking at me like, yes, we're here too.
Wow.
And then a voice said, "No, you have to go back. You can't stay." And I said, no, not doing that. And so,
Thanks, but no thanks.
so then I was on the outside of that tunnel again, and I felt two hands. Couldn't see anyone, but I heard a male voice and pushed me. And I started to tumble down the corridor. And I went right through the doors without them opening, and I saw my body, and I started to fight against it, like waving and kicking and waving my head like, no, this isn't going to happen. But I went in, I saw my mouth open. I went in through the mouth, turned around, doubled back, and then a nurse said, she's back.
And you thought, come on.
Yeah, like, oh, no. That one of those.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Denise, that is the most remarkable experience. Wow.
Yeah.
That bit about the nurse is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
She levitated you off the bed?
Yeah. Took the sheets.
Wow.
I had a forensic artist draw the best picture we could get of her. I can send it to you if you want. So you can see what she looked like. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like an ET, and I know how skeptics think, what, an ET in a hospital? Well, I wrote this book called The Healing Power of UFOs, which outlines 300 cases of people who have been healed, which includes blood clots, by the way, at least 2 cases that I know of.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And get this, 10 to 15% of these cases took place in hospital rooms, in the hospital itself.
Wow. Wow.
And people describe that same thing, a doctor or a nurse coming in who the hospital cannot identify. Sometimes they're absolutely full-on ETs. Other times they're, kind of humanish.
Yeah, there's something a little wrong with that, the way she looks, but she was very kind and, leaned over and whispered to me. So many years later, we had moved into this home, in 2001. And a few years after we moved in, my daughter sleeps on the sofa a lot while she watches TV and then just doesn't get up and go to bed. One Sunday morning, she was calling, and I have the forensic artist draw this. It's better than the nurse, actually, but knocking on the door and ringing the doorbell. And she called through to our bedroom and said, Mom, someone's at the door. So I struggled to get up out of a sound sleep. It was 7 a.m. And I don't get up early. So I came out and I looked, we have a monitor. Our daughter has mild cerebral palsy and we want her to be safe.
Sure.
So she said, Mom, look. And we looked in the monitor and there were 2 women with bangs to here, black hair, and then hair cut in a blunt cut just below their ears. They had on dark brown, what would you call them? Jumpers that had like a thing that came over their shoulders and great big buttons here on either side and lighter colored blouses. And they were staring in the monitor and I saw one of them had a briefcase. So I just was going to open the door. So I started undoing the latches. When I opened the door, they were all the way across to the homes on the other side of the street. And we are on a T-shaped place where you park right in front of your home, a mixture of condos and single dwellings like we have. But they were on the sidewalk between the homes on the other side. They had moved that quickly. And I said, wait. No. But I feel like they were checking up on me to see if I was okay.
Right.
Amazing. Well, we need to take a quick station ID. So hold on for just a second. I'd love to get into some of what you recalled under hypnosis and hypnotic regression, because I'm sure a lot of answers came forth from that. But let's just take a quick station ID. I want to let everyone know that you are watching The Light Gate. This is episode 43. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host today is taking Dolly Safran's place, who is otherwise engaged. This is Michelle Desrochers, you can check her own show out, The Outer Realm, which airs live each Wednesday and Thursday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And it's an awesome, awesome show. One of my favorite out there. So thank you, Michelle, so much for joining us. Our lovely guest tonight is Denise Stoner. We've been talking about all of her incredible experiences, beginning from early childhood and onward. And I have a feeling we've only scratched the surface of the things she has to say. But I do want to let you all know that we are airing live on United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. Also on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are so grateful for that. Also, of course, on YouTube and Facebook, and get this, Roku. So that is awesome. We're on lots of platforms.
Yeah.
So if you guys in chat have any questions, be sure to get them in early, because at some point we will be fielding questions from you guys. But man, oh man, Denise, I am just blown away by your experiences. This is the near-death experience and the healing, and the fact that you have so much recall of this. This was all fully conscious that you called this nurse lady?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's just, so this has all been pretty benevolent overall for you. Would you say that that's true?
I would say, yeah. I got angry once, and I didn't want them poking at me anymore. So he offered a tour of the ship in turn.
Wow.
So I took it, and I let them do what they were doing. And that was the end of that. So, yeah.
I just want to give a shout out to Just a Gen X Dirtbag Baby. Thanks for the super
Love
chat.
it.
Incredible.
That's cool.
Sorry. But
Love it.
I'm
Love
so
it.
glad you said that, Denise, a tour of the craft, because this is something I hear. You know, because people are taken on board and they're being physically examined and they're panicking and they're like, this is unpleasant. But if you can get past that fear, this is exactly what happens. They will give you a tour of the craft. So what did you see? I'm really curious.
Well, two different experiences. One, there's a possibility, but we're not sure, that Kathleen was on the same craft. So I'll take that one second, because it just had the great big consoles and all different types of ETs sitting, operating. But the one I was taken on, we went around a corridor and into a room that as soon as I stepped inside, it felt like a heartbeat. And Kathy did hypnosis on this, and it frightened her at first, because my reaction to it was, she said it looked like I was being hit, my muscles, by beanbags. And I was kind of freaking out about it and scared. So she brought me out and said, no, I said, let's do it again. And I want to have this recorded. So she did. And when I stepped inside that room, there were walkways, very narrow walkways, and a fluid just running underneath those and across the floor. And I was left to just look around, you know, curiosity. Of course, I'm looking everywhere. And at the far end of the room, I see the face of a woman, only she's not all female or humanoid or whatever you would call it, because I saw organic, bacterial, mechanical. I saw her face all mixed in together. And these great big pieces of, like, something similar to tubing running under the floor, and this heartbeat that went boom, boom, boom. And I was saying, have they trapped you? I was thinking it. Have they trapped you? And she said, do you think I can't leave when I want to? That I can come and go when I want to?
That's encouraging.
And I said, that's interesting. Thinking, not speaking, just thinking. And I said, well, where do you go? And she said, well, there are many of us like me, and we can all communicate. And when we are called home to the larger ship, we know when we are to return.
Wow.
That's basically what she said to
So
me.
when you described this liquid, was that that's running through the tubes?
I couldn't tell that because they
Oh.
were not see-through, but the floor, it appeared that they were.
Okay.
So I would have to say yes.
It's an
But
unusual detail. I can't say that I've ever heard that, which doesn't surprise me. There's always unique elements that I've
Mhm.
never heard
it
before
was,
when someone describes an onboard experience.
yeah, it was just everything was contained within that room. You would not know what was in there unless you stepped inside.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was the first tour quote that they gave you?
Yeah. The second one was not a tour. It was, they had, the ETs had a bunch of us humans all standing in like a center lobby, if you will, and walkways. One going left, one going right. In back of us, it looked like they were upset about what they were going to have to do, and they were not happy with, I call it their project. It was their project. So I saw a woman grabs a little girl or a woman, a younger one, and run down the hallway and into a room. We think that might have been Kathy, but we're not sure. But I saw them do that. And then they said, line up because you're going out. And we lined up in front of a huge console that they had that was operating the ship, all these buttons and lights and things that were going, and then a great huge window. So when we went outside, went down the corridor, stepped outside, and Kathy can speak of something similar. Here we are on a balcony, and I'm afraid that I'm going to fall. Where's the gravity? And someone said, step forward. So I did, and I didn't fall. There was the balcony pushed out from the back of this huge curved ship. And I touched the back of it, and it felt rough, didn't feel smooth, was not shiny. And we were all carrying black boxes. Now, my husband,
Automatic black
the
boxes.
black
Keep
boxes,
turning up.
I didn't know anybody else had ever seen them. I still have never spoken to anyone that had seen them, but I felt very emotional and felt like I was doing something I shouldn't be doing, not have responsibility for. Now, they took me out of my home here in Florida, but where this ship was overlooking, could have been Colorado, could have been Switzerland, freezing cold, lots of those great big tall pine trees, and the ship tipped right towards a granite cliff.
Wow.
When the end of it moved out, I recognized a person from my neighborhood. I asked him later, do you have this outfit? Or do you have a, he said, but you'd never see it. I only wear it at home. So I didn't tell him.
Wow. Well, it's
But,
still a level of confirmation right there. Wow,
yeah.
that's amazing.
So there were about 6 of us on that side of the balcony. And I looked down and I saw one of those beautiful A-frame homes with the glass windows overlooking the forest.
Those are very
And
popular in Colorado, actually.
beautiful. Yeah. Oh, gorgeous. So finally they said, we'll give you the signal and you drop your box. So I thought, what is this? I need to know what this is. And they said, you are carrying the souls of what will be new hybrid children.
Huh.
And they gave me the signal. I dropped it. Everybody dropped theirs. I watched mine go below the tree level and then disappeared. Just kind of little flaky things that went into the roof of the home. And that was it.
Well, I have a quick question on that because I mean, I look at ETs being pretty advanced. Do you think, because it's your experience, why do you think that they would need all of you humans to do this on their behalf if you're doing it from the ship? Could they not just come in, like parachute things out like I mean, we drop food
Absolutely.
and all kinds of things off everywhere. So,
Yes.
so I'm just trying to understand why they would put that responsibility on you guys.
It was a project. It had nothing to do with what they normally did.
Right.
That this was something that was set up for them, I think, to see how it would work and how it was handled, how we would handle it, and they weren't very happy with it. Not at all. So I think probably, I don't know, that it was never done again.
Right.
Very
It sort of-
Yeah.
It gives you or makes you ponder about essence.
It does.
If you have a soul of a hybrid child in a box, it makes you question essence, because essence can't be contained that way.
I felt something that was highly unusual. It had no seams. It was seamless. It was smooth.
Yeah.
The edges were all very precise and sharp.
Right.
And it had weight. So I remember that. We went back and looked.
Yeah.
I wish I had that answer. I
Right.
really do.
I can tell you, I have personally investigated 4 or 5 cases where people describe little black boxes. They're not large,
No.
like a bread box, maybe twice the size of maybe 2 loaves of bread.
Yeah.
One had it set up in the center of the room. Little girl, and they kept asking her to get water. We need water for this. We need water.
Oh, my goodness.
And she finally just became tired of it. It's like, I'm not doing it anymore. You've got all the water.
Even the little girls are so saucy. No, we're not.
No more of this
Right.
process.
Yeah, I mean, that's turned up in another case I investigated where the ETs showed up carrying this little black box. And gosh, if I remember right, they wanted her to hold it. So maybe there's some sort of weird interaction that's going on. Because they do often want people to hold the hybrid babies and give them nourishment.
Yeah,
or
true.
nurturing, I should say.
Nurturing. Yeah, absolutely true.
I don't know, it's odd. They do seem to want people to participate and do
They
things.
do. On the craft where this was humanoid operable craft that I was on, when I left, I saw that other people have described all different size vessels with the babies. And one of them said to me, the ET said to me, look at that one. You're going to see a quickening. I don't know what it means to this day. All I know is that baby shuddered, opened its eyes, and looked right at me. And I felt that had been mine. That was my child. Because I had a miscarriage on the side of a mountain in Colorado. And I looked at that because it was an outhouse. We were on a picnic in wintertime, which we liked. And so that's what happened. And I looked and I thought, oh no, someone's going to come in here and see this, and I'm going to be arrested for something. I didn't know what. My mind was just, this is crazy. So when I was about to step off the craft, they said, now I want you to know that anytime something goes wrong and you carry that baby and we can't fix it, then that one is yours to raise.
Oh my.
Yeah. Now, what does that mean? I still don't know.
I don't know. It's pretty profound, though.
Yeah,
because that's quite a statement.
And they don't typically would just give away hybrid babies to humans to say, here, raise them. I mean, unless maybe it's generational contact or experiencers who have been through the same thing, and they can trust the bloodline or the lineage.
Well, I did have my first case. They asked the mother, take this home. She's like, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. I'd love to. I love
babies. I explained that one to my husband.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Michelle, but that just reminded me of that. My God.
Yeah.
No,
so
that would be hard.
Who are they? What are they? I don't know.
Right.
my curiosity is just up there like everybody else's. Everything is so many pieces to this puzzle.
Yeah. Well, it's
While
hard
you
to piece
were,
together when you have missing time too.
Yeah.
oh, absolutely. Were you ever given any or taught anything as to how things worked, like such as power source, things like that when you're on the ships? Functionality, how everything works.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, everybody
Yeah,
sort of
that's
gets
a
brought
good
up to the
question.
cockpit and, so
Right?
I'm just kind of
Yeah.
wondering,
Look
like
at that.
Dolly, get out of my way. I'm taking over this gig and that's it,
Yeah.
right?
Watch us push all these buttons.
Right. Let's see what happens. What does this do?
I
Right.
think the only thing I can think of is being shown how to make things.
Oh.
From the time I was a child and told, here, sit down, and you're gonna mold this into a tree. You're gonna make a rock. You're going to do this with that and have grass grow by just using your mind and your hands. I don't know. Does that have to do with the operation of a craft? I don't think so. But I was
It
taught
might to some
something.
extent, because the people I've talked to say that these craft are basically flown psychically, or
Yes.
there's a psychic component to it.
Yeah.
And certainly
There
what you're
must be.
describing would go along those lines.
And some are organic. Is that right, Preston? Some of these ships?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that
Yes.
reminds me, Denise, because you said you were feeling this heartbeat sort of thing, and that's immediately what I thought of. Like, well, maybe that's the ship itself.
Right. Yeah. But yet when you left that room, you didn't feel that. You
Right.
didn't sense that. It was like the whole room was alive. That's all I can describe it as. I don't have anything else to compare it to.
Interesting.
Well, that would be
Yeah.
exactly the sort of thing I do here. And Dolly Saffron, I wish she was here today, because I know she'd be bursting with questions
I know.
and answers too.
And answers and
No.
sharing.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
So
yeah,
what else are some of your experiences? Did you recall other stuff under hypnotic regression, or did you ever have a fully conscious onboard experience after
oh
childhood?
yeah, it was mostly conscious effort that I recalled. And that's why we didn't have to fill in very much with hypnosis.
Well, that's awesome.
Just a little bit, and I'm glad for that. I really am, because some of the things I think they thought maybe I shouldn't recall, but others, I'll share a couple of things with you that I had involvement with the Men in Black. I think we all do. I mean, you look from age 2.5. I'm in my 70s now.
Right.
That's a lot of years of all of these experiences, and they don't go away. They just change.
Right.
I would say. So, when my mom was still alive, she passed away in 2016. So about 2008, on Christmas Eve, we wanted to go and purchase some last-minute stocking stuffers. So we went up to the mall and parked outside our JCPenney's. And everybody was pretty much gone. I think there were only 4 cars out there, counting ours. We went in double doors to enter. What we wanted to purchase, we both wanted to get the same thing, was right inside that door, and so wasn't the cashier. So we picked up what we wanted, got in line. There were 2 people in front of us. Both of us recalled this. And the double doors opened, and here came 2 women, blonde. We had it hair parted in the middle and long blonde hair. Do you remember what we called umbrella strollers?
Yes. Yeah.
There was no room for
fold-up jobbers. Right.
Yeah, fold-up handle umbrellas, only
Yes.
double, and
That's
then
right.
it looped around. The baby was in there. You
That's
couldn't
right.
hang your purse. You couldn't put a diaper bag. You could do nothing.
No.
So here they came and stopped right next to us and kept looking at me, looking down, looking at my mom, looking down. And finally she said, "What's in there?" And we looked again, and here were blankets in those strollers. And above that, a small head with great big black dark eyes staring right
Oh,
at us. No
wow.
ears, no nose per se, tiny little mouth. And we went to tap the woman in front of us, and she was frozen. We looked at the cashier, wasn't moving, just staring straight ahead. So these women moved behind us and went on through to what was children's and infants' clothing. So I tapped my mom and I said, stay awake. I mean, really, we were just kind of, look at this. What are they?
Mhm.
And I'm going after them. So I went down the hall, down the aisle to the right. They were gone. So we went up. Everybody was alert. We paid for what we bought, went outside, and there was nothing but that parking lot, the 4 cars, a parking lot way down the end of the building. The rest was brick, aside from the 2 double doors. My mom was just a little sprite, so fast moving that she had everything out to my car before I could breathe. And I started to walk. You know, the big wide sidewalks they have at a lot of the malls. So I
Mhm.
got to the edge and I heard a noise. I turned around and there were 3 men, all different heights, wearing black suits, black hats, and briefcases, leaning on the wall.
Hmm.
And one of them, and it was telepathic, I don't remember a voice, said, you know, like, come here. So I took a couple
Nuh-uh.
steps back. Yeah, I know. I don't know why. You just
Uh,
do it. So they
oh.
said to me, what you were shown inside, you must never voice.
Oh, goodness.
And here she is
That
on the
was
light gate
2008.
voicing
Yep.
it.
I gave up on that.
Right.
Wow. So these are
So,
probably ET as opposed to like government men in black. I mean, if they're speaking telepathically.
yeah, their faces were putty looking,
Yeah,
like
those are the classic
like
MIBs.
dough, and they had a strange look, and they were kind of leaning like for support almost. So I
Odd.
grabbed my purchase, stepped off the curb, went across looking for cars in case they were coming down the roadway, went to my car, turned around, and they were gone. And there's
Mm.
no way.
Well, this
They,
cannot be a coincidence. I mean, this has to have been a setup in some way because, I mean, like you're just going to be at the store and these
uh-huh.
ET babies are there, and no, and when
Why?
some other people are not moving, that's a
Right.
red flag that
It's a,
something's going on here.
yeah. And my mom was
Frozen.
afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess because so many things had happened to me, and then I told her about it. We got in the car, and she kept saying, "What was the matter with those babies and those women? What was the matter with them? Was there something wrong? What did you know?" She just kept it up, trying to justify what she saw.
Wow.
And I said, "No, Mom, I don't know what they were. They looked like hybrids. The babies looked more like grays." And she never saw the men. She did not see them. And they weren't walking down that sidewalk to go home. They were just gone.
Right.
Or were they
Yeah.
there to pick up some baby clothes and just give you a
Yeah.
little hello or something? It's
Why
so
not?
odd. I
Right.
don't even know what to think of that.
No,
I
it was
know that's crazy. But I like that your mom was actually pretty open about it. Like
she
asking
was.
you for your opinion on it, like she was
Yeah.
receptive to it at least.
Yeah. And if I said I don't know, are they from here? And she'd say, no, tell me what was that? You know, like she was trying to absorb it.
So
Oh, how
Janice is
old
asking,
was I then?
yeah,
Well, I'm 75 now, and that was 2008 or 7.
Right.
all
Yeah.
right. We can do the math. I'm not great at math. Well, I
It's about 15
I
years ago,
know.
roughly. Right.
I
Let's go with
think
that. Okay.
math
Right.
and me, I have math
Is this a
anxiety.
test, Janice? Come on. We're
I
So
trying
got
to
a
have
dog.
fun here.
yeah, she
I
Just
can't
know.
wants to say
figure it
hello.
out.
Duchess wants her moment of fame.
He's a Great Dane, and you don't tell Duchess what to do. She tells you
Duchess says, I want my moment. I want my moment.
later.
Oh my
So,
word.
Yeah.
But yeah,
right.
that was something I felt physically for
Right. Right.
gosh, about a week before that sense of wonder and questioning went away.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, that's an incredible experience, to say the least. So I know you studied the paranormal as well, and how this manifests after an experience. Have you yourself experienced paranormal as well in conjunction with all of this?
I have a little bit. My mom more. She lived about 2 houses down from us, and she had one of those, I don't know if you've heard of them, top hat man. He had
Mm.
on a black top hat and the old-fashioned coat, and he was very intrigued with her refrigerator, froze everything inside, the milk, the eggs. She would turn the dial down, he would turn it back up, and she would
Hmm.
see him, and I said, "Tell him to stop." So she said, "Stop it. Find something else." Well, he went upstairs where my sister was, and the old type receivers with all the fancy lights and stuff that went
Mm.
when you played music,
Yes.
that had to stay on 24/7, or he turned that and the TV and the radio on.
Oh, Jesus.
So
God. Wow. What was your mother, as a child, like, did she have these same sort of experiences? Because a lot of times this is generational. Do you know if anyone else in your family was an experiencer as well?
I think my dad, due to that one that he mentioned, and my
Right.
mom never found out. Kathy could have helped her with that, but she passed away before. My mom did. Where when she remembers being, I think she said, just under teenage, and had
Mm.
made a new friend and I'm still trying to research this, whose father they had moved to Connecticut, and he was now the head of Hartford Hospital.
Wow.
And they became friends, this young gal, the man's daughter, and they did everything together. Well, one day she remembers standing on the street in Hartford, and for some reason she felt she needed to go across the street to an abandoned building and lot. And she
Mm.
said to the gal, "Go with me." "No, I'm not going in there. You go, I'll wait right here." And so she
Yeah.
said she did. My mom has no memory of something that went on in there except for some very, flashes, odd flashes of faces, of big eyes, of something that went on. And then all of a sudden, she finds herself on the sidewalk, comes back across the street, was invited to dinner at this gal's home, and they disappeared.
Hmm.
Well,
And
that sounds like something.
there
Yes.
was no more. The girl, yeah,
But your grandparents, they talked about seeing little people?
yeah.
I mean, that
They're
could be.
contactees. Yeah, for sure they are.
I
This
know there
is
are elves
Scotland.
and
Everything
gnomes.
happens in Scotland.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Gosh.
interviewed a guy who swears up and down he saw an elf, and it wasn't an ET.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know, because I do believe there are little people. They're in every culture.
There are little, yes,
So
yeah, for sure.
that could be.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be ET as well. Because I mean, how
It
do you
could
interpret
be.
it back then?
I know. I don't know what.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
there. I've been to Scotland. Let me tell you,
Isn't that
it's
something?
prime real estate for
Yeah.
experiencers. Oh, it absolutely is. It's
Yeah.
part of my lineage as well. I love it. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah, me too. That's what I was raised. My dad was French Canadian, so I'm
Ah,
half French Canadian and then half
I
Scottish.
too.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I see. De Rocher.
Yeah,
My
I married that one a long time ago.
You married
That
that one.
became my
Okay.
professional name. I got stuck with it. But I actually do. My
Aha.
maiden name is French as well. So
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Mine was Labonte.
Leblanc.
Labonte.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was Leblanc.
So, yeah. Oh, yours was LeBlanc. Oh, all right. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Mhm.
All
I
right.
know.
So is it all right if I pop up a couple of questions from chat, because we're now
Sure.
approaching the
Yes,
last
take her away,
20
Preston.
minutes or so, half an hour. We don't have a whole lot of questions because people are
A lot
just
of comments,
enthralled
though.
by
Yeah, a
they're
lot of comments.
absolutely enthralled by what you're talking about. But let me see. Well, let me just pop up this because I
There we go.
deserve being told what OPUS stands for.
You're welcome.
That's
The Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, which I understand you are a part of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, here is a question from Doxy, which we touched on regarding making a Faraday cage. She's asking if we wrap our cameras with copper wire, will it help stop ET and spirits from seeing it?
Yes, it's been just started, and get the fine wire. I mean, you don't need to completely engulf the thing. Just expose the lens and what you need to show, and just make a semi-wrap around it.
All right, and it'll protect it from any electrical, outside interference as well.
Yeah, true.
So
I think that would work with us because it's like copper grounds you. And if it could work on a camera, we should wrap it around your head. It's like tinfoil on your head. I know, I'm being silly. It's okay.
Tinfoil folks, people make fun of it, but one day they might have their day. Okay, here's another question regarding that experience you had with the little babies in the carriage. It's coming from Janice, and she's asking, do you think that was your baby?
Ooh, good question. That is one of the only reasons I can come up with as to why I was shown those children.
Yeah, because sometimes, as she says, they do emotional bonding with the baby.
And they looked at me like that. And I really wanted to reach and pick one up, but I didn't dare do that. I just, I was so stunned myself.
Wow.
And then my mom had to have the answers to everything. What was that? That's why all the way home. What did we see? What did you see? What was that? That type of thing. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah. I just want to pop up this comment from Karen Swain. Hi, Karen. So lovely to hear some of Denise's story. Thank you all. Kevin Briggs has been talking to me about Denise for years.
Kevin. Yeah. He's been a good friend. Yes.
Kevin Briggs. Why does that name sound familiar to me?
Oh, he's from the UK, and he's written a book. I think he's maybe written a second one, and he has had experience from age 8. The Council of 8 is what he calls them, several different types.
All
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to pop up another question, and this is actually a really lovely and poignant question from Doxy, which is, I'm sorry, going to cover part of your face. We're trying to fix that, folks. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on.
Doxy says, Denise, at any stage of your lifetime experiences, have you felt like you were losing your mind? I ask with great respect. I would have questioned myself many times with my experiences.
The only one I wondered about, and of course I started to research right away, was how quickly I left my body. It had nothing to do with the ETs. It had to do with that near-death experience and making a decision when I realized I had connected with my consciousness, and boom, I was out. And then when I came to, there's a story background to that too, because I didn't like myself a whole lot. I thought my personality was yuck. Yeah, I did. And I hooked up with who I had been in the past life, the life before that, and asked if there was a way to trade, to go back to that. And I did. People that saw me in recovery, and afterwards, I was in the hospital for a couple of months, said, who is she? That's not Denise. My handwriting changed. Everything changed. So then I became accepting of what had happened to me.
Wow. All right. Well, some really interesting questions are popping in. So here is one it's an interesting question I never even considered. Woodland Goblin 2025 says, hello there, Denise. When the alien beings communicated to you, did they use contractions like don't or can't? Or did they say do not or cannot?
That's a good question.
Betcha.
Think about that. I would say that they did not use contractions. No.
Very proper speaking. I've heard that with a lot of people describing ET encounters of all types. They use a flawless English or whatever language.
Yeah.
And it's
very precise.
Yeah. Very strange accents sometimes turn up.
They don't use things like, for example, they would not say flashlight. For me, it would be like a torch. Not a flashlight. It's a torch. Like it's.
They will speak in your own language, but sometimes telepathy moves a little bit beyond language.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
does. It's
I
a
would say
knowing.
flashlight. Right. So,
First time I heard torch, I'm like, really? You guys carry a torch around? Oh, that's kind of
I
primitive.
know, and that's what
Yeah,
they say. Remember the torch.
for sure.
Torch.
But
Okay.
yeah, they're
Okay.
very, very precise, and
Yes.
it's a knowing, I guess I would say. You know what they're saying.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
I don't know how else to put it. It
Right.
doesn't sound like words, but it's words.
Yes.
I love that question because that definitely makes me think. I
Oh,
agree.
Mhm.
They're not very
yeah.
slang using folks.
No.
No, that's excellent question. Thank you.
All right, and here's a question which turns up a lot, and it's definitely a standard question among experiencers.
Yes.
Coming from Wayne Mallows. Denise, may I inquire, are you a negative blood type?
No, I am an O positive.
Mhm.
My daughter
To the
was
no.
born O positive,
Right.
and she had to have a complete blood transfusion when she was born.
Wow,
And they cannot explain why she now has my husband's blood type, B positive.
Mm, very interesting.
amazing. See, I'm glad to hear that because people say, oh, no, it's only, what's it called? RH negative. I'm like,
RH negative.
no,
Yeah,
it's
not
not.
always.
No, and it's not because people are like, well, how come black people are never taken? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Wait
Of
a
course they
minute.
are.
Yes.
Interviewed people of every single ethnicity that you can imagine:
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pacific Islander, Asian, Latino, I mean, you
Exactly.
name it.
And they hide it more, a lot of them. We have a Latin family we've known for years next door. They're just as kind. And one of the sisters has had a lifetime of experience only when she goes home to Puerto Rico.
Oh,
But they
funny
were
that.
so afraid, knowing that this is what I do, this is what I research, that they had to sneak over in the dark of night and sneak me over there and have a translator so that they could tell me their experience and not be afraid.
Oh,
Wow.
something really poignant
Wow.
about that. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
All right, I would like to pop up another question. This is from Allison Carr. Because you described seeing a mantis at some point. I'm not sure if we really got too much into that. But
Oh,
she's asking, did the mantis seem considerate or just plain neutral?
first of all, very determined, very neutral. And that's when I got angry when the mantis worked with me that one time. And when I yelled, he turned and he tipped his head right in my face, like, what is she doing? Questioning. Those are human emotions that it didn't quite understand, I think. And
Right.
so that's the only time I saw anything like that from a mantis.
Wow. But is that the only time you've had a mantis experience?
Well, several times in the craft, they would do whatever medical, I guess, research.
Do you think that they're more, because people see different types of ETs. They see grays, they see human looking, they see tall grays,
Right.
mantis. Some people told me, well, it felt like the mantis were in charge to some extent. Did you have that impression at all?
I don't think they're in charge, but I think they're very determined to complete whatever it is they're doing. And a lot of it has, research.
They're very smart. They're very much into research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You could sense the brilliance.
Okay, well, here is one more very unusual question, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, but no questions are off limits. So we always encourage people to ask whatever is on their mind. And JB3 Nun is asking, long ago, I had an experience in which I saw a trench coat being with a fedora hat pass through the second story window. Well, that's a red flag right there. He had a black box on his chest with a red LED light. Do you know what this might mean?
That's fascinating. No, I don't know what that means. I have never seen the red light, and I've seen, of course, the men with the fedora hats and that type of thing. They used to beat us to the punch when I was working for MUFON during the Bigelow days. I don't know if you know what those are. I worked for Bigelow, And it was very interesting because they beat us to the punch every time we were going to go and collect evidence.
Interesting.
But I have enough documented that I don't recall any with the red LED light. That doesn't mean they didn't have it. Sometimes I think they're trying to fool us into saying, oh, that one's not telling the truth.
Right.
I've heard
They
the
probably-
fedora hat thing before. It's
Oh, yeah.
you know, they'll wear
Yeah.
strange, cowboy hats, fedora hats,
Mhm.
wigs,
Yeah.
even at times.
Mhm.
Yeah. And their cars have changed in the UK in some places where if you can actually get up to the car when they're trying to leave, those cars with the being in it melt right in front of you.
Crazy.
Just like a big glob of metal, just a puddle, and they're gone.
That's
Wow.
nuts right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So why not LED lights?
Yeah.
Although,
Wow.
let me comment to that person is I've given some recommendations to people who are afraid to be taken. And there are certain types, I would say a reptilian type, do not like LED flashlights. Get a bunch of them and put them on your nightstand, put them by your bed, put them where you can grab them. If you shine them right at their eyes, they're going to go away real quick.
Yeah, the LEDs seem to be like, I don't think Grace liked them very much either.
No.
They're just too bright.
Yeah.
Well, Dolly Saffron, she says she's been up in the craft, and people are down on the ground sending those little laser pointer.
Oh, yeah.
They don't like those either.
That's like, no, thank you.
Mess up normal pilots with that. You can't do stuff like that.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think of the whole CE5 movement where people are calling these things down?
Do I agree with that? Ooh, not really. I'm left of the line on that. I don't know we should be doing that yet. Yeah, that approach is, boy. I know they're going to come in their own time. They're going to be disclosed in the proper way. We've just got too much to cover yet, I think. Don't be too quick.
And one guy I interviewed said, when people do CE5s, they need to be aware that this opens them up to my labs and government coming up with reverse engineered tech and fooling everyone into a negative ET experience and all of this, which
no thank you.
I don't want to call government folks with their ET mind control negative stuff going on, because
no, we can't figure out our own and what's going on here and how to handle it. There's just too much that we need to look at. I mean, look how some of this paranormal is now mixing together. Are they coming through the same portal? Are they arriving? Are they aware of each other?
I've spent 20 years working in the field of high strangeness, so to speak. I could tell you half of the families I've worked with, and I've worked with hundreds and hundreds, not thousands of people. At least half of them have also claimed to have extraterrestrial experiences.
Yeah. See, that just tells you.
They mix. Or is it maybe not getting their mistaken identity, I guess is the best way to put it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And,
also,
look at the changes in our bodies, immune suppressant illnesses, things that show up after they've been taken, gets worse as they go along. And how does that come about? Look at all the people that have got, like I do, clotting disorder. You say, where did it come from? Oh, something in your family. Can't find it, never existed. So you can name a number of things. Diabetics, I'm one of those. So many things. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Chris Teen actually has a very interesting question as well. do you have any,
Hmm.
intuition or idea or knowledge of when the ETs might be showing themselves? I do feel like open official contact is inevitable at some point.
Yes.
You
Oh,
can't
yeah.
hide the sky. This is a message a lot of contactees have been given. So,
Yeah.
Christina's asking what your thoughts on that.
I used to know when they were coming for just me, and others say the same thing by almost a tinnitus, a ringing in the ears, and within 24 hours you're going to go visit them. But do I know when they're going to come? I don't think it's too long. I hope I'm still here, but it's going to be kind of on the fence for me. But I think others, it's not far down the road.
And another question that keeps popping into my head is, I know you've talked about Men in Black, but what about like government? Do you feel like you've been under any type of government surveillance or interference in any way?
Yes. Kathy and I were doing a radio show, and during the radio show, our phones just quit, and then they couldn't hear us. We could see the radio host. They could not hear us, and then Kathy's phone quit, then mine quit. She got hers turned back on within a matter of hours. We had to call for repair. When the repairman came out, he knocked on the door and he said, "I'm gonna have to call my technician, my supervisor." They came out, and then pretty soon he knocked on the door and he said, "Are you aware you have a bundle of DOD wire next to your regular phone wire?"
Ah,
Well, there you
wow.
go. Well, what
So,
the
yeah,
What's that about?
they said, "Do you want us to leave it? Do you want us to take it? What?" And I said, "You know what? If it's connected back there, leave it alone. It's still there as far as I know. I'd have to go out and look." Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I want to pop up the book again that you wrote with Kathleen Marden. Definitely recommend people check this out because it has not only your story but others as well, right?
Oh, yes. And some of our research is in the back.
And
there's
just can you just go back real quick, just for our audio listenership? The book is called The Alien Abduction Files: The Most
Right.
Startling Cases of Human Alien Contact Ever Reported by Kathleen Marden and Denise Stoner. So check it out.
Thank
and
you
forward
so
by
much.
Stanton Friedman, a true honest to God
Yes.
pioneer and lovely gentleman.
Oh, what a gentleman. He used to take us to dinner if we were at a conference, and we'd say, "Can we sit next to each other?" Same thing at the conference at our vendor tables, and he'd say, "No, I'm how did he put it? I'm a thorn between two roses." He used to tell us that.
Yeah, what an old softy.
He was. He definitely was.
So there's
Yeah.
also this book, Making Contact: Alien Abduction Case Studies, Conspiracies and Cover-Ups. Now, is this written for children? I think I saw that it had that
It's
age.
it's something that children can read more comfortably.
I'm so
and just,
glad to hear that
yeah,
because contact starts when people are little kids. And
absolutely.
often,
Well,
I've heard this many times, kids will go to their
yes,
parents, and the parents are
yeah,
like, "You had a nightmare. Go back to sleep."
yeah. I
So they've
mean,
got no recourse.
they tried to protect me before they admitted something was going on, and they said, "Oh, she's got an imaginary friend. Does he have a name?" And I try to describe him and say, "No, he doesn't have a name." So,
Oh boy.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, well, we've only got about 5 or 7 minutes left. So is there anything we didn't talk about that you want to discuss?
Well, I just want people to have a little bit of an open mind. Whether or not they have experiences, don't be afraid to talk to an experiencer. Don't be afraid to ask questions if they've already stepped forward and they are telling their stories. It's important to all of us to know that we're being heard, because there's something going on, something huge. And I think that we don't want to have to face it last minute when we have a visit that no one can say no to. So share with each other, be caring
Good
and
advice.
considerate, and learn from each other.
Should people be fearful of these of what's coming, or of these beings? Should they be afraid, or should they be welcoming?
I would say no, because they're a part of what we are, who we are, all the planets, not just us.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
agree
what
with
I've
you.
heard. Okay, we got another question coming up, and I think we have time for this. We still got, right, Michelle's good 7 minutes.
Oh, sure. I'm on good authority that you're okay. Just keep it under
Okay.
the 2 hours for that whole replay thing.
Yeah.
All right. So Beth S
Yeah.
is asking Denise, any thoughts on UFOs appearing differently throughout time, as described by Jacques Vallée? I think he means, back in the 1800s,
Right.
the airship mystery, the Swedish ghost rockets, the Foo Fighters,
All of the above.
I mean,
I
what
think
are your
that
thoughts on
their
that? Yeah.
technology, I've spoken to a man that used to work out at the Cape and saw the people that we have as astronauts go up in space. And he said that something he was shown, he had a clearance, he escorted them onto the craft of the shuttle. He said we are a minimum of 50 to 60, maybe 100 years behind the technology that some of these crafts have. And if you can imagine, if we discover something spectacular that happens in a matter of a year, can you just add the 100 years to that? And sure, those
At
crafts are
least,
going to
I
be
would say.
different. At least. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very, very cool. So what can you tell us about this book, Making Contact, Alien Abduction Case Studies?
Well, those are just a basic group of case studies that have been looked at that are considered telling the truth. They're easy and gentle on the person reading them or child, and there's something the parents can share with their kids that tell some stories, and they want answers.
Very cool. All right, I want to bring up another picture because she's a big part of your whole journey here.
Yeah,
You and
big
Kathleen
part of
Marden.
my life now. Yeah.
So that must be just awesome that you guys are able to connect so closely and help
Yeah.
each other out, because it's always good to
Oh,
have a support system in this field.
absolutely. And she's from New Hampshire. My dad was born in New Hampshire. I was there a lot as a child. We have a lot of connections. We spent a lot of time in the same areas when we were younger. I've seen Betty and Barney Hill's home. I've seen their grave sites. She took me
Oh,
herself, which was just really going out of her way to show me, where she was from, her school, all of that. Yeah.
well, people are absolutely loving the show. Allison says, great show. Please have Denise on again. I know Dolly's going to want to have you back because she missed the whole show.
Oh,
But
poor
Doc is
Dolly.
like, yes, we want more Denise. So yeah, Chad
Dolly's
is
lost my gain. Just saying.
Oh,
Sorry,
rub
Dolly,
it
love
in.
you.
Rub it in, rub it in. Yeah, I love you, right? Oh, I thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I really enjoy knowing there are people listening and learning and sharing with me.
So do you have any future plans with going other books or?
I am trying to write something right now, but I'm also doing some research. And again, it's on how come all of us have something that affects our immune system. I've got a nurse working with me on that, and I'm going to have a survey out soon that everybody can fill out.
Yeah, you mentioned that when we talked before the show on the phone. I thought that's an interesting idea because I have noticed a fairly high incidence of autoimmune disorders among contactees. But then again, it's a big problem on Earth as well.
It is.
It might be interesting to look at like airline pilots or stewardesses or people who.
Oh, I've already got them going. I have one that calls me. The problem is he's had these effects with blood clots and so forth and so on.
Wow.
But then he reports and sends me photographs out the window of these things that he sees coming over Montana for one. Thank you for having me and listening, everybody. So they've just been told with this one airline, I can't name it, I don't want to cause
No,
him
for
any
sure.
trouble. They
Right.
can no longer take any photographs out the window of the plane.
Wow.
Wow. I want in
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're getting towards closing time here. I do want to give another shout out to all you lovely people who are able to donate to the show. It's truly, truly appreciated. So very, very, very kind of you. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
Denise, for
you.
joining us tonight. People keep asking, where's Dolly? Where's Dolly tonight? Well, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag.
Oh, here we go. It's all Preston's fault, Dolly.
Yes, Dolly is on Jimmy Church right now. So if you
Right.
want to pop over, you might be able to catch at least the second half. But I wasn't going to tell you at the beginning of the show because we want you here.
That's right. Selfish little Preston.
So yeah, that's all on me.
Oh,
No,
But,
that was
yeah.
actually Dolly's. Yeah, we all talked about that, just so you know.
So I figured why not? You know,
why not?
Dolly deserves definitely some kudos for going
Yeah,
forward.
for sure.
All
That's
right.
funny.
Well,
But
yeah,
it was
people
fantastic
are absolutely loving.
spending, the evening with you, Denise,
thank
and your
you.
stories are incredible. And thank you so much for sharing all of your stories and memories with us.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being here every minute of it.
Yes.
And your people are just amazing. They're contributing questions and comments. I love it.
Awesome. Yes.
All right.
All right. Well, Michelle, do you want to take out the show and read the call signs and do what you do?
We shall. So thank you everyone for tuning into the Light Kate this evening with Preston Dennett and myself, Michelle Drochet, and our very special guest, Denise Stoner. Wow, the tales she was telling us. My goodness, it'll stay with us for a little while. And don't hesitate to reach out to her if you have any other questions. So we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. And hopefully, for those of you who caught us on Roku TV, watch for the archive and be sure to check out all of the archives that will probably go up, I would say, within a couple of hours. So thank you all for tuning in. You guys in chat, you completely rock it. Thank you. Would not be the same without you all. Bam. And Denise, one last few minutes. Tell everybody how to find you.
Okay. Just right now, because my website was hacked. So go to my email. It is dmstoner, the number 1, @gmail.com. And I will respond.
Excellent.
dmstoner1@gmail.com.
Correct.
All right.
Excellent. Thank
You
you.
were so good on the show. People just loved you, and so do I. So thank you.
Thank
Oh.
you.
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you for
know.
coming. No, we loved it.
Well,
We
thank
loved it.
Dolly. I had both of you tonight.
Yeah. Lucky girl.
Oh, gosh.
All right. So,
All right.
Preston, are we good to call it a night?
We're good. Episode
good.
43. Shut it
All
down.
right. Coming
Thank
to an
you.
end. Good night, everyone. Have a terrific week. See you on the Light Gate next Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
night.
And check out Michelle's show, too. The Outer Realm.
Yeah, what Preston said. Good night, all.
Good night.